I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Nevada Commission for the Reconstruction of the V&T Railway. It's Thursday, July 22nd, 1:02 p.m. We are here at the Carson City Community Center, Robert Bob Kroll Boardroom. Allison, would you go ahead and do a call to order, please? A roll call? Oh, you'll have to, yeah.
Clay Mitchell.
Present.
Denny Dotson.
Here.
David Peterson.
Present.
Stephanie Hicks. Here. Jim Wells.
Great. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 3. So if I could get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. At this time, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, public comment. The public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of this public body. Do we have anybody on the phone?
We did not have any callers at this time.
Thank you very much. Seeing none in the room, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 5 for possible action, approval of the minutes of the June 24th, 2021 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes? Any edits, changes anybody wants to make? If
I got a
not,
couple.
happy to entertain a motion. Oh, yeah,
I got a
sorry.
couple.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
On page 3, right above the number 9, the motion was for consent agenda item number 7, not number 6. We had approved number 6 on the previous page.
Thank you, Jim. Allison, do you see that? Okay, perfect. Any other edits? Anybody want to make a motion?
David, on
Yes,
page
yeah.
11, in the fifth paragraph, the word statue appears and it should be statute. And I've already talked to Allison about that and she'll correct the minutes.
1, 2. Number 11, 1, 2.
Third line,
Okay,
in the past, the commission hasn't adopted a separate policy because the statute is clear.
okay. We'll make that change to statute. Thank you, Mike. Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to include those 2 changes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the 2 changes that were identified.
Thank you, Jim. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
This is Denny. I'll second that.
Thank you, Denny. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Wonderful. Thank you very much. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the consent agenda, items 6 and 7 for possible action, discussion of possible action regarding approval of the V&T statement of accounts, payable checks paid June 18th and July 2nd, 2021. And number 7 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding approval of the adjusted V&T fiscal year 2021 budget report. Does anybody want to pull anything?
I'll make a couple comments, and I don't necessarily need to pull them.
Okay. Go ahead, Jim.
So going forward, I would like to see that the monthly reports, that the checks that we're approving kind of match the period activity that you're seeing on the budget. It'd be a lot easier for me to track that, we've approved everything that has been posted and paid through the budget. So I'd like to see that. And then the other thing I'd like to have at some point is making sure someone is tracking the contract amounts, that we are not overspending the authority on our contracts. I don't know how Story County tracks the different contract payments, but we have not to exceed maximums in all of our contracts now. So at some point, I'd like to see that if we're getting close to those authority and need to make an amendment, that we get that timely, that we get that done timely.
Jim, are you thinking like contract log files?
Yeah,
if
like
they
a
could
contract
provide
log.
those to us? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm a comment on Jim, on that. I can certainly talk with the comptroller about matching these up. I do know that we pay every 2 weeks when those checks come out. Sometimes they don't clear, they don't match up with the budget report. But I'll ask her if there's a way we can do it. It may be delayed a month, but sometimes it's not going to match if we do it right away.
And I'm actually fine with that. I'm
Okay.
actually, if I can see it, that they match, even if it's not, if there's a timing difference.
Most current. Yeah.
I am much more happy
Okay,
being
I think
able to
that's what
see
we
that
were-
we've done it.
We were focused on the most current, and I think we can take care of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
If there are no other comments, happy to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
This is Jim Wells. I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Jim, for the motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Mitchell. Happy to second that motion.
Thank you, Clay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 9 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding the nomination and election of a chairperson for the V&T Railway Commission. The V&T Railway Commission will nominate and elect a member of the V&T Railway Commission to serve as chairperson of the V&T Railway Commission. The term of the appointment will commence immediately and expire on July 1st, 2023, pursuant to SB 57. Anybody want to make a nomination?
Yeah, this is Denny. I'll make a motion to stay with our current chairman, Mr. Dave Peterson.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just have a question as far as with the chairmanship expiring on July 1st, does that mean we need to handle a new chair in a meeting prior to that? Or should it, if that's the way that the legislation requires it, but it seems like there should be continuity until the new chair is expired, or the new chair is appointed.
Good question. Mike, does that make sense? In June 2023, we would re-agendize these 3 items to proceed the terms? Yeah, you can do it that way. Okay. Sounds good. Cool. Okay, any further?
No, that's it. I
discussion,
just
or-
didn't want a captainless ship for that July meeting next year.
Yeah. No, in 2 years, in 2 years.
Oh, 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, we'll all be on vacation, on our own ships at that point, so. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Well, thank you, guys. All right, let's go ahead and move on to agenda item number 10 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding the nomination and election of a vice chairperson for the V&T Railway Commission. The V&T Railway Commission will nominate and elect a member of the V&T Railway Commission to serve as vice chairperson of the V&T Railway Commission. The term of the appointment will commence immediately and expire on July 1st, 2023, pursuant to SB 57. Do I have a nomination for a vice? Go ahead. Stephanie.
Yes, Stephanie Hicks for the record. Likewise, I would like to nominate Commissioner Mitchell to remain as vice chair of the commission.
Super. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
This is Denny. I'll second that motion.
Wonderful. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, Clay. Yes.
No, I was going to say.
You were dreading this,
Unlike you, who's done an excellent job, I've done very little as vice chair.
Oh, no. You'll be fine. You're in waiting,
All right.
yeah.
I like waiting. Keep me there.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to agenda item number 11 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding the nomination and election of a treasurer for the V&T Railway Commission. The V&T Railway Commission will nominate and elect a member of the V&T Railway Commission to serve as treasurer of the V&T Railway Commission. The term of the appointment will commence immediately and expire on July 1st, 2023, pursuant to SB 57. Do I have a nomination from anyone for the treasurer? Denny?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have some comments. Last meeting, I kind of threw out that, we had a lot of changes, and some of the things, it would be nice if we stayed the course. Some changes great, some changes not so good. But I think in this case, I think with all the financial reporting, all the reports, basically the vouchering being done in Story County, I think it'd be appropriate to have someone from Carson City maybe on that, just to be a little more transparent to the public and everybody. And so with that, I'd like to nominate Jim Wells as treasurer.
All right. Well, thank you, Denny. We have a motion to nominate Jim Wells for treasurer. Do I have a second?
I would second that.
Wonderful. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Jim. All right.
It was a hard-fought victory.
I saw his sign. I saw him out there.
Later, I'm out.
Yeah. Very funny. We have to be quick, Yeah, Jim's quick over there. Wonderful. All right, everyone. Well, thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 12. For discussion only, we have our monthly non-action items. So we're going to take up 12A, operations report by Allison Bolton. Take it away, Allison.
So we meet again, month 2. First, before I launch in, I do want to take a minute to introduce Leah St. Marie with our team. She is sitting right beside me, taking the minutes today. She is our operations director, minion, all hands on deck gal. I know some of you have met her, whether it be via online or actually down at the depot. So we're very excited to have her on board. She came to us from the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, also has a nonprofit background and events background. And we did one day of onboarding, and she's kind of hit the ground since, which has been really nice for me. So
Welcome.
welcome, Leah.
Wave to the camera.
Great. So last month I started with, the nouns that would describe the month. And this month we're going to start with a little bit of trivia. Can anyone tell me or define what eleemosynary, and Mike Rowe, you cannot say anything. You don't count. Can anyone tell me what this word means?
What was the word?
Eleemosynary. I could be butchering it. And it'll become relevant at a later point in this presentation. No, I've stumped you. We had a V&T Marshall pin that you were going to win. Nothing. Okay, it means it means benevolence or goodwill, essentially is what that means. So that was my fun word of the month that I learned. As mentioned last month, we'll kind of outline these updates with our operations assets, board relations, and marketing buckets in which our contract is laid out in. So this is kind of the roadmap that we'll be taking. Is everything okay? You're good? Okay. Oh. All right. Well, I'll talk about it, so you don't need to see it. Hey. So for June and July, we've established the schedule, and we're working closely with Tom Gray to ensure that we have his blessing, all hands on deck, and that we can hit launch for tickets. I'd say mastering the Fair Harbor ticketing system. I wouldn't stretch it to say we're masters quite yet. That hour-long conversation I had with them yesterday makes me feel a little bit better about things, that there was a few things that stumped them, that stumped myself, so that made me feel good. But we're getting pretty good at it, and we've got everything loaded in there to just kind of flip it to say we're on sale. Those dates being, Lord willing, mid-August is kind of that sweet spot that we're looking at to get trains going. We have purchased a phone tree system. Our new number is 833 Rails NV. See what I did there? The tree system will essentially be a way in which we can field calls not only to myself, but also to rail bikes. If you're looking for things to do in Virginia City, we'll loop them up there. If you're looking for things to do in Carson City, we'll direct them there. If you're looking for the short line in Virginia City, we can direct them there. This is kind of in reaction to the mass amounts of phone calls that we get from all over the place, from Polar Express to rail bikes to, just wanting to talk about the history. We're hoping that this will kind of alleviate a little bit of our time and give a little bit more clarity to those that are calling. The 775 number that we have, the 686, that also will direct to that phone tree system. So both will lead there. We've been doing a lot of coordination with Freedom Rail to ensure that operations will be seamless when we launch in August, and that we are cohesive and very, clear when people are arriving to the depot that they get what they're looking for. Working with that. And then this again was a little bit in reaction. We've established an internal calendar system. Now I know Tom Gray has kind of a blocking system of what's going on the tracks as part of the dispatcher side of things, but we also put in a Google Calendar of when the rail bikes are going, when the schedule is going, who's doing what, when Gabe's going. When we get the blessing for the schedule that we've proposed to Tom Gray, anyone that wants access internally to that, we're more than happy to give that. What we were finding is, we're in Fair Harbor and it's got one schedule for ticketing, and then you've got the calendar on our website, which is what's available to purchase. But then that doesn't always show kind of this cohesive what's going on the track. So again, we're doing that. And I think this kind of fills into operations, but a lot of what we've been doing is establishing processes and procedures. In my interview, Denny asked the 3-part question that I'm pretty sure I blacked out and only answered half of. But part of that was that we wanted to do processes and procedures. That was going to be the first thing that we were going to do out of the gate. And so the idea is that if I'm not available, if Lee is not available, that information is readily available to this commission. So part of that is that calendar. We've got a contact list of all the contacts and the vendors, easy phone numbers, emails. We've got our vendor account. So yes, we've got who we've paid in the past, but who are we currently working with? We've got a list going with that as well. Again, anyone can go into that box account from the commission and see where we at. Again, if I were not here, you would have that information. In regards to Polar Express, I kind of looped this in under operations, even though it kind of hits all buckets. We have finalized the schedule, and we are working with Carla to coordinate for rehearsals, as well as some of the other contractors. We've confirmed with Granite Construction that they will be doing the signage on 50. We need to get the permit for that, which we are working on. We've, with the assistance of Ken Dorr, have finalized the North Pole location that we're able to use that. So moving forward there. Up next for the next month, we're looking at, we have to get our retail order in. That is due August 1st. So Leah and I are going to be at the depot tomorrow, getting a final inventory of what we already have, going through past orders. We have both 19 and 2020 orders of what we were going to order, and we'll be submitting that order for that. And then finalizing a parking plan. And this is still kind of in the research mode, but I do want to update you guys that we are looking at potentially charging for parking. And this is kind of a reaction to what really Northern Nevada events have been doing. To be able to park right next to where you get on the train, I see that as an added value. And how can we use that to our advantage, quite frankly? Is that part of a VIP ticket? Is that something that you're paying extra for? So what we're doing is identifying a location off property that we could potentially park vehicles for free, possibly through a sponsorship from wherever that property may be. We're looking into the cost of shuttling people from that location to the depot. And again, to be able to park right at the depot would be part of an added value, whether that be a straight, maybe $15. That's kind of what the region's doing, or we make that part of the VIP ticket. So hopefully we will have a finalized answer on that at the next meeting. It could be that this might be slated for next year, mainly because there's a lot of players in this concept, and we don't want that to delay going on sale for Polar Express. We're waiting to hear from, I believe, Amador is kind of the final piece in that. So here's some numbers of our revenue and our riderships from Freedom Rail. And I have to preface this with, this is only what I was able to pull from Fair Harbor. Now, Fair Harbor wasn't, which is our ticketing system. Fair Harbor was not put into play or established until mid-May. So those May numbers are half of May. And then July, of course, we still have a week left in July. The June numbers should be pretty accurate. The 377 riders at that gross revenue. We are working with Freedom Rail to get a more accurate number for April, as well as the rest of May. And then moving forward next month and future, you'll see each month progressing and so forth. Now, the reason you see July a little bit lower, again, we have a week, but we also had to cancel some rides due to the smoke and the air quality. So this last week was a pretty rough run. I know that they canceled a lot of the tours. So there we are with that. And then again, moving forward, once we get trains going, we'll have an update for that as well on the next slide. And here for assets, we've been at the depot a lot this last month, kind of cleaning up, cleaning out, taking inventory. What do we have? Going through everything, doing continued vendor recon. We have pest control. They come twice a month. That's great. Really just finding out who our partners are and establishing those relationships with them. And moving forward, we are looking at finishing up that cleanup process, making us ready to go for that mid-August date. And we're also securing some quotes for the updating signage that's kind of like the same with the securing the quotes. I came across some photos of this sign, V&T Ticket Office. I was convinced that it was photoshopped in. I'm still not certain that that sign ever exists, but I like it, and I think it looks great. So I'm getting a quote to see what it would take to put that sign up on that ticketing side of the depot. This is just across from the steel building. And then the bottom photo there, that was one of those, pull the car over, I gotta take a photo. I pictured this concept in front of the container, which is in front of our steel building. So I'm calling it a horizontal slat wall. That would kind of just create a facade that would go in front of that container just to give it a little bit more curb appeal rather than just that flat container. And then a pergola that would go in front of the restrooms to create a little bit of shade should we ever get lines right there. There's really not much shade at all unless you're in one of the buildings. So I'm securing quotes for that. And then another idea we had come up with was for a water fill station that would be right next to the drinking fountains that we currently have. Having a branded V&T water bottle that you're able to fill your water right there. Small things, we're gonna, little bite-sized things just to kind of clean things up and add a little bit of appeal to what we've got going. The customer experience is really what we're going for. Board relations, another heavy month with board relations, quite frankly. Hey, we're here. We survived the first commission meeting. I got through the agenda, got it posted. Luckily, it was a small agenda, but I was really proud of that one. We've been working with on the SOQ for our auditor. The proposals are due tomorrow, and we have sent that out to several different auditing firms, and we have gotten a response, and we are anticipating at least 2 proposals that will be coming in. So working with Jennifer McCain as well as Jim Wells on that. We've been working with all of the Draco players to ensure that we are moving forward with that. Currently working on getting the funds transferred from First American over to BCM. Updates even this week, today, tomorrow, more to come there. The bank account, I'm officially have a credit card, so some of those smaller things that I can go to Home Depot and get a plant for the dead plant in next to the steel building. I'm really excited about that one. But no, really, the bank account, trying to get everything transitioned, ensuring where the statements are going, fielding that so we get the credit card statement in time to get it paid. And it's been a process, and I think we're there. I was at Wells Fargo this week, and I had a great experience. I had no problem depositing a check, which was great. So check that box. Really happy about that. Now, the foundation, quick update there. We've done a lot of investigating to the Northern Nevada Railway Foundation. It had its 501c3 revoked in 2016 with the IRS due to our 990s not being filed. We're guessing at least since 2013. And the verbiage that the state uses, I believe, it's not dormant and it's not revoked. It's a different word, but essentially with both the state and with the IRS, we are not a foundation. What does that mean? It does look like Elaine tried to resurrect things in 2019 on the state level, but didn't really get very far on the IRS side. Working with Lauren Solom with our team that's very familiar with grants and with foundations, and again, with my nonprofit background, the solution that we have come up with is rather than going back and trying to find all of the players from the former foundation, potentially hitting some fees, because it's been revoked for several years now, we are actually moving forward and establishing a new foundation. And we have 4 areas that we need to address before we can really move forward on that. But we do think both for the financial impact as well as kind of finding all the players that were formerly involved, that would be the best solution for us at this point. Now, for us to submit for grants, to secure donations, to be included in, say, wills or trusts, we really have to have that 501c3. The former one was under an education bracket. This would be the same for this foundation as well. We're going to be pursuing the education side of things. The goal really is to be able to allow people to give back to the railway and be able to do so, be able to write that off. But also, an elementary school calls me in Carson City and wants a donation for their STEM project. I would love to be able to give money to them for that. So part of the 4 things that we need to address that I want to plant the seeds with this committee, as well as potentially look at selecting a commissioner to work with me, maybe 2 commissioners to work with me to move forward in establishing the foundation. But those 4 things, we need to come up with a name. The one name we came up with was the Virginia and Truckee Railway Foundation. Decide on a registered agent. Elaine was the former registered agent. I could be a potential there, but we would need to confirm that. We would need to decide on the names and addresses for the incorporators, which could be the initial board. Now, the former foundation had representatives of all the fiscal players. And we could have incorporators the same as the board, or we could have it separate. And that's the 4th thing, is decide on the composition of the board and how many. We need a minimum of 4 people to make a board. So we would need to identify who those players may be. We could have 1 or 2 from our commission, but I would recommend we look elsewhere as well. We have started on the articles of incorporation, but that's kind of as far as we got without answering these next 4 questions. The financial impact to the commission, what does that look like? On the state level, we're looking at about $200. It's not much. On the IRS side, I do anticipate it's going to be a little bit higher, maybe around the $1,500 to $2,000. They have now developed a YouTube video that you can watch to make sure that you cross all of your T's and dot all your I's. So we are in the process of doing that to come up with the absolute financial impact on the IRS side of things. Moving forward into June and July, I would like to focus my efforts on a lot of the other buckets that we've got, less on the board relations. But again, that foundation is something, if we are to pursue donations and so forth, we would want to establish that. I can take questions at the end.
Does anybody want to,
We can
Throw a
touch on
question out, or
foundation questions now if we want to.
do you want to let Allison finish the presentation and then ask questions? Is it any preference? Why don't you keep rolling?
Okay, we'll
if
keep
that's
rolling.
okay, yeah.
Okay,
This is a lot. I mean, this is great. I mean, I like the way you laid it out.
okay, great. I'll keep doing it. For marketing, this moving forward will be a much bigger piece of it than just one slide. We'll actually show you graphics of, our reach and our growth and so forth, but we're still in a little bit in the planning phases. But we have established a marketing plan, and we had our first marketing meeting, which consisted of myself and representatives from Carson City and Virginia City and their relative marketing arms, Rad Strategies, as well as Lydia with Carson City. In that meeting, we identified a regional marketing committee, which would potentially meet twice a year, hopefully consisting of Nevada Commission on Tourism, RSCVA, Tom Gray, really pulling in all of the players that we hit and that would impact the region. And then part of this last month is we did the full transition from Argentum. We have all of our files. Everything's been transitioned. We are up and running. Next up, what we're working on is securing the media buys for both the general season as well as Polar Express, hitting the ground running with our marketing. We're a little bit on hold until we get that green light that we can go mid-August. And then as soon as we get the green light, what you'll see is an e-blast, a press release, and social media will all hit within the hour of each other. For Polar, the plan right now is August 2nd, which is a Monday. We'll be hitting press release, social media, e-blast, Polar specific on August 2nd. And then I think, yes, now we're to questions. Oh, I have one more update. Sorry about that. Facebook. So some progress on Facebook, some great, some not so great. Let's start with the great news. I was able to change the name. It's the V&T Railway, just V&T Railway. We still have the issue of 2 Facebook accounts. One was the former, which has about 16,000 followers. The new one, which was established in January of 2020. In the process of trying to merge those 2 pages, Facebook gave me a big red X that says, cannot be done, and that was it. I mean, no call here, ask questions there, nothing. It gave me nothing. So I went back in, and I was able to change the name of the old page, which we had not been able to do. So that railroad name is no longer there. It's Virginia and Truckee Railway. So now we have 2 pages. One that's 1,500 followers, V&T Railway, that is about a year old. We have the original page, which is about 16,000 followers, which was established in 2011. The name is Virginia and Truckee Railway. My recommendation, as much as I hate it, but my gut says delete the new page and go to the old page. I'm seeing some nods.
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. I didn't mean to-
No, I'll wait till you're done.
That was it. Hey,
Yeah.
we're there.
Okay.
Jeez. Way to come on board strong in the first, in between 30 days. That's impressive. Can I ask one question,
Oh,
then I'll
you're the chair,
roll
yeah.
it out to everybody? On the phones, and thank you for tackling the phone situation, because I can attest to the nightmare that it has been in my own office, and then finding out that there's issues with the Nevada State Railroad Museum and their phone number that's being, or the phone number that's being given out is actually the direct line to my office. Somehow that was bungled in the IT system there on the state level. So thank you for tackling that. Quick question with the 877 number. Will that still work for the time being, since people know that 877 number? Do we have a plan where we'll eventually phase that out? Maybe a year from now or something like that?
Yes, it still works.
Okay.
We just purchased that new phone line, and I still need to write the script and record what
Perfect.
that phone tree looks like. And
Okay.
then from there, we can discuss transitioning that 877 number.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm just thinking if we at least point it to this new number, so we don't look, because that's what's out there. So as long as we, I don't
Well,
know, a
and
year
as
from now.
far
done,
as I
whatever.
know, we don't have a lot of printed material, hard material out there currently. Again, that's as far as I know, and I don't know what I don't know.
That's true, yeah.
So we would be looking at potentially, it's just a digital transition
Okay.
from with our website and our social accounts, and then hopefully the marketing committee that we've established with the region will also help with that transition of that phone number.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. When this is ready to go and live, then let everybody know so we can update our website, because we do have this on printed materials. Not this one, I'm sorry, but the 877.
You do?
It's all over our site, and yeah, so we'll work toward replacing that kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick, Allison, the 877 number, is that the number that we have posted on all the crossings for emergency contact purposes?
No. That's the 6869037, Ken, the local number, and that's going to stay no matter
That
what,
stays.
because we actually have to have that for open meeting law for agenda requesters, and then if you want to, do your public or provide public comment or whatever. So that one, it's got to stay. Yeah, that one won't go away. That same question, Gabe? Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so I'll open it up for questions for Allison on any of the topics. I thank you for doing this as a report. I like this. I like how you broke it down in the buckets, because that's the way we're kind of budgeting your time. And so I really appreciate you putting this together for the meeting. So I like the format. I hope you guys like this format as well. So, questions?
I just got a couple things.
Go ahead.
Good job. Yeah, way to come out strong, like Dave mentioned. I love the marketing opportunities for 833 Rails NB.
Sounds
I do.
good,
I
doesn't
can't
it?
wait to
Got
share
a
that
ring.
with some other regional partners so we can have one number.
We own it. That's ours.
Everybody
Yeah.
is so confused on where to call for a train, and this will really help and help direct them in the right, in the right path for what they're looking for. That's great. Good job. I love the organization aspect of the box account. I know that didn't quite go over before, but I see you've taken it by the reins, and that will pay off in dividends for our replacements. It will. It'll be just it's a common resource, or a central resource where we can just go and get stuff, not scattered from.
And
everywhere.
quickly on that, I did, thank you, because I meant to mention, it's organized by Fiscal. And if we have a contract that goes multi-year, it's just is going to be in each fiscal. So when you go in, you've got 2021, 2022, and if there's a contract that existed in 2021 as well as 2022, it's going to be in both folders. And so the idea is that we can gradually archive as we progress in time, but you just go into the current fiscal and have everything that you need. Sorry.
So with that also, I was, you mentioned the marketing co-op meeting. I don't know when the last time was. We all sat down from Carson City, Virginia City, the train. It was nice to think about. I know we can't get a hard date yet. We're almost there. But it's great. It's what Dave and I are on this board for. And it was great to finally sit down. That's been a long time. And get some positive things moving forward. The question I had on marketing too is that, through transitions in the past, email databases have been a problem. Do we have all those?
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
There's been a lot of pulling teeth trying to get databases when we do an email blast or something. So you mentioned that.
I mean, again, I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know if there's other email lists out there, but in terms of our MailChimp account that was used within the last year, and especially since we've done Fair Harbor, we own that account now.
There's something like 20,000 emails in there.
I don't know the number offhand, but I can definitely
Seemed like it was pretty substantial.
report back to
Yeah,
you.
it was a chunk. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think so. I love the idea about parking for events. We all do it. It's a common thing right now. As long as there's an option for those, just like at the rodeo did. That was the example I
Yep.
gave you.
Rodeo,
Grand
balloon
Sierra, ride for
races,
free.
yeah.
Get in there, you don't have to deal with the traffic. Don't have to deal with it, get stuck in there, you just come and go. So that did the same thing for the celebrity golf. You just park somewhere, and get
Everyone's doing it right
transportation
now.
in. It really, and those that want to be up close, then you're going to pay the premium, and you'll sell. It'll sell. The transportation, you mentioned that a little bit. I am working with, I talked to Clay a little bit in Austin. I know once we do come to Virginia City, there's two things. One is we have to provide some way for folks to get up to C Street. In the past, that's been a line item for this commission. We didn't put it in there this year. We forgot about it. Generally, it's about 10 grand. We're not at a full season this year. I don't think it's going to cost anywhere near that with a limited schedule, but that is something for us to think about. So you mentioned transportation. I went, oh yeah, I probably should mention that. There's something to work on, but we'll sidebar and work on that together, Allison. And that's all I had. Yes, good, awesome. Good stuff.
Thank you, Denny. Clay, Jim, Stephanie, go ahead, Stephanie, please.
Stephanie Hicks for the record. I just wanted to say I'm really excited to hear that trains may get going mid-August, so I think that's great. That's a little sooner than we had first expected, so I do think that is fantastic. My only other, well, there's two comments. First of all, I echo what everyone else said. I love the way that you presented this. I think it was wonderful. We got it early. I had an opportunity to look at it in advance. I think your presentation of it was great, very helpful. In regards to the facade improvements, which I think are fantastic, I would just ask that you make sure you check with our building department and make sure that there isn't any permitting needs that goes with whatever decision is made. And I imagine we will hear more about it as well. Thank you.
That sounded like a grab for permitting fees by the city.
Right? I
Oh,
heard
did I
it
say
too.
that out loud? I
heard it
apologize.
too.
Everybody wants a little bit of money. Clay, Jim.
I just
Go ahead.
have one question on the rail bikes. I was looking at those June numbers. 371 riders. When you divide that into the gross number, it's about 166 each. Is it possible that that's like a 371 transactions? Because 166 seems like a nice spend on a per rider basis.
Oh, or is it? Oh, yeah. Is it? Maybe it's like a quad bike, huh?
Well, that's what I'm. Yeah,
With
I'm
a-
thinking
with a piece?
if you.
Well, you can buy individual seats,
Yeah,
or
you buy
or rent
per
four.
seat.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Anyway, I know. I know
Look
that's
into
not
that.
necessarily something that we need to get involved in individually, but that's a healthy spend for a single rider, and so I'm
Right.
wondering if that represents a purchase that might be multiple
You're right. That
riders.
could be
in
the
that.
transaction. Somebody could have
Yeah.
rented 3 cars in there, but it was one transaction on their credit card.
Did I mention I'm mastering Fair Harbor?
It's all good. It's all good. I just want to, what that would mean is that would mean the ridership would be potentially substantially
Higher,
more.
yeah.
So, and I just thought that, I don't know if it's important for a railway to keep track of ridership.
We do. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, we have to for the
I
55s.
know,
Yeah.
So that's why I thought I'd bring it up. The only other question I had was with the phone tree. When you get calls for people who want to know about the history, those all go to Ken, right? You have that for
Yes, yes.
as part of his deal. Great, thank you. Nice work.
Jim, anything? No. Well, thank you.
Okay.
This is great. I like where you're going. I like the direction where a lot of this ties in very nicely with the strategic planning that we just completed as well. So thank you for
We did loop that
using
into
that
our
as your guiding
management
document.
system.
Yeah.
So we've got benchmarks that we've got to hit into our calendars based on that strategic plan.
This is great. And we'll come back for the next month. I think got to talk to Todd and Vinny, I think, and try to figure out, if those were transactions, because I would like to see, I don't know how everybody else feels, but we talked about this before. We'd like to know how many people, butts and seats, right, were represented by this dollar amount. So we'll get that figured out with those guys. So,
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. You have
Okay.
anything, last comments? Or
I do not. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to 12B, Attorney's Report. Michael Rowe.
It's been a pretty quiet month. At the beginning of the month, there was a series of emails from David regarding public records and digital formatting of the commission's records. There were a couple open meeting law questions. And then I spent time reviewing the various agreements once they were finalized, the Polar Express reduction, the Lollipop contract, and their certificate of liability insurance. The other thing that I did, major thing that took place, was to kind of track the Draco transaction with BCM. I understand that Leah finally got Roy Street tracked down and got him to sign the agreement, and I thought we were done with it until David came up to me just before the meeting and asked me to double check the amount of fees and expenses that were being that are called for in the contract. Under the sample that BCM Darren sent me, they had a collection of $75,000 and a fee of $750, and David extrapolated from that maybe there should be a 1% fee paid by the commission, which would be $2,000 as opposed to the $750. I will say that when I sent the draft contract to Darren for his review and comment, he did not change that. But then again, there was a typo in the draft that had the amount collected at $75,000. So I want to be sure that we're on the same page with him, and we may have to revise page 4 of the agreement once more and raise the fees from $750 to $2,000, which is easily done. I can do that when I get back this afternoon if that's in fact what his commission rate is. And I can get that then emailed to Leah and she can add it to the contract, and we'll hopefully get that done this week. Other than that, it's just routine stuff of reviewing minutes and agendas and whatnot. It's been pretty quiet. So I don't have anything else to add. If you're happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Any questions for Mike? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate that. Thank you for helping us through this whole Draco note, because it's definitely not in my bailiwick, understanding all this terminology. So thank you very much.
Since we're talking about that, David, and you and I had chatted when you mentioned the fee for BCM, who do you want to contact Mr. Street? Are you going to have Allison do that and tell him that he owes us the interest?
I'm completely comfortable with that. At least start there. Again, weigh in, Clay. I don't know what the process is about the interest that we're owed now. 7 months, January. That's $1,731 I have in my head, but and change. So I don't know what the,
Yeah, I think
what the
the
process
right
is
thing
for
to
that.
do is to start with making it, an inquiry first of all, and then if it needs to go further than that, we
and we
will.
could involve Mike if there's some sort of legal document or something.
Yeah, but as far as I understood it, there was no provision for any sort of proration or anything like that in the escrow, and so that really it wasn't involved at all in that side of things because there was
Yeah.
there was an assumption that it would be done in a timely manner. So
Right, right.
I think
Yeah, so I think something happened from the First American to BCM where the interest lost its way, I guess. So,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I just don't want to let go of that because that's a pretty good chunk of change.
Even though it hasn't been paid, I'm not overly concerned about it because we still maintain our first deed of trust
True.
and the balance of the promissory note
Mm-hmm.
that he's going to owe us when he wants to sell that. And if nothing else, we'll collect it in the escrow process on the sale of the building.
Okay. No, that sounds good. Okay, wonderful. Thanks, everyone. Let's go ahead and move on to 12C, Engineers Report. Ken Dorr. Welcome, Ken.
Thanks, David. Allison, yeah, great job on your presentation. Even I could follow that as an engineer, so. Gabe's here also, so he can fill me in and correct me if I make some mistakes. But first thing, Jim and I had a little discussion ahead of time, what's going on with the rail bikes / train safety plan, and are we putting a derail in? As David's aware, myself, David, and Tom Gray met on July 1st and walked through several issues. And the concurrence at that meeting was that we really don't think we needed a derail at the location between Lineham Road and Highway 50 Bridge. So we're not going to include a derail at this point. I've subsequently prepared a new plan, and one of the ideas that Tom came up with, which I think is a great idea, is that he wants to have for westbound trains, this will only be when rail bikes and trains are running, but when westbound trains, before they get to Lineham Road, they'll stop short of the crossing, and then at that point, they get a hold of the dispatcher, and the dispatcher coordinates with the rail bikes folks. We're in the clear, come on down. And so basically at this point, we've got a plan we think is a workable first step. I just had a discussion with Allison. It sounds like Tom has maybe one or two minor little comments on that. And again, I think if we can get that finalized, it's going to change in the future, but I think also that was in the previous vintage was included with the rail bikes Freedom Rail agreement as an addendum, so maybe we can update that once we get concurrence on that. There's a couple signs we want to order. We're going to have a sign that says begin rail bike block, end rail bike block, and that's going to be between Lineham and the bridge. And then the hold point, we're going to get a sign for that, just so everybody knows where everything's at. So we're ready to order those signs as soon as I was really hoping to get anything back from Tom. So if anybody has any pull with him that we want to make some changes in this, let me know. But I'm tempted to go ahead and order the signs regardless. I don't think that's going to change. And that was a very good meeting, by the way. Very, very productive, I thought. A couple other items, again, working with Gabe a little bit on some maintenance way items. Couple months back, we prepared a priority list of what we could do based on the budget we had so far this year. We're not going to get everything. Again, we had a year without any track maintenance for all intents and purposes, and luckily, not a lot of heavy weather, so that's good. One of the things that he has worked on, we established number one priority was the east switch at Hayward's has been sort of lousy looking for a long time. Gabe has raised that, and he's relined some of the rails through that siding. He's not completely done. That needs some cleanup again. There's a number of other items. The next one was the Overman embankment. It needs some surfacing. It would be foolish for us to go up and touch that track right now in this weather. Basically, the last thing you want to do is raise track a bunch in this heat. You loosen it up, the sun comes out, and then the track goes sideways, you have a sun kink. So we, by choice, deferred that until it gets a little bit cooler weather. There's some ballast there already that we dumped 2 years ago to raise it, which we never got a chance to do it last year. And then Gabe's going to get in and do some attention on that guy. Along as we're on the Overman, the field survey, which we had Manhart do, they went out and resurveyed all the pins we put. And they've been sitting in my inbox for the last 3 or 4 days. I just need to get down, and I'm going to ultimately develop a little profile that says, here's what the ground looked like in 2014, here's what it looks like now. And then we're going to take a look at what our future options might be. which I don't think there's going to be any immediate necessity to panic on that. I think we can keep it patched together with just doing maintenance. Again, because that's a big cost when we actually get into that big repair. But anyway, we'll have a check down as to where we're at, and then we'll go from there. Form 55 report, safety report, ultimately, we're going to give that over to Allison because she's been eager to start taking over that safety reporting, so. And the good thing is I got a little spreadsheet which will really help you, so. Which there was no spreadsheet before, but as an engineer, I got to have a spreadsheet. Can't think without one. Gabe has got a signal arm for the Lineham Road crossing on the way. I'm not sure if it's showed up today, but it hadn't showed up as of yesterday. As soon as it gets up, we're going to get it reinstalled. Anything else on that, Gabe?
Besides the arm or everything else?
Just a second. Well, let me finish here and I'll turn it over to you. Settlement monitoring, coordination with Allison. We just talked a little bit about, unfortunately, every time she pumps the holding tank at Eastgate, we're supposed to tell NDEP how much sewage was pumped, and we need to work through that process a little bit. And I don't know that it's such a big deal if we may have missed a report in the last year or so. I think if we start reporting going forward, shouldn't be that big a deal. And current slow orders, real quick. All railroad geometric standards are based on the operating speed of the track, okay? Up from the highest being Class 6, which is like 120 miles an hour plus, down to Class 1, which is for freight trains 10 miles an hour, for passenger trains 15. The majority of the commission's track is Class 1. We've got a 15 mile an hour speed limit set on all of the track, with the exception of about a mile or so either side of Lineham Road. That's kicked up to Class 2. That was the alignment change. When we designed that, we were able to reduce some of the curvature so we could kick up a little higher speed. That's Class 2 track, which is 25 mile an hour passenger freight and 30 mile an hour passenger equipment. So that's our high-speed rail, if you will. And all the safety standards that go back to that is, do you have a gauge problem or an alignment problem or a profile problem? You pull out the book and you say, for this class of track, you can have this much of a dip, this much of an alignment. And it's pretty straightforward. The bottom line is we're not a high-speed track. So the commitment of the commission was we're going to maintain to Class 2 standards, period, even though most of the track is Class 1, slower speed. With that being said, we do have some slow orders. One is at the Overman Pit, which is 10 miles an hour. We got another one at 15.2 to 15.3, which there's a little bankment soft spot, which is a perpetual little problem, but it's relatively minor. That's 10. The Chinese Wall, 5 mile an hour speed limit, if you will, and there's nothing wrong with the track in there. It could go faster than 5, but it's a good spot to slow down and everybody look down there and go, oh my gosh, hope we don't fall off. And Tom also suggested 5, so that made sense. And all our switches, by classification, you can run over those at 15 miles an hour, or if it's in, we don't have any switches in the higher speed area, but they're limited to 15 miles an hour. But we have set a speed limit on all the turnouts at 10. That being said, now you guys are expert on FRA 49 CFR 213, just like us, right? We've got a high rail inspection scheduled tomorrow with Tim Blaylock. Tim is the rail safety supervisor for the state of Nevada for the Public Utilities Commission, and really good guy, a lot of experience. And I called him up and asked him if he could, when he was going to do his annual inspection, and he said, well, how about tomorrow? So he said, okay. He just happens to be in town. He lives in Dayton, so that made that real handy. So that's planned for tomorrow. It was going to go at 9, but it's 10:30. So it sounds like Allison and Leah are going to come along with us too, which that'll be good. So
We are. We're really looking forward to it, actually.
wear your boots and your long pants.
Yep, we're ready.
And that's really about all I've got at this point. Gabe, do you have anything to hop in here on your maintenance work? I know he's also been doing some vegetation work. We're planning to do some ditch work. We're trying to coordinate renting of the high rail excavator from Tom. And as soon as we get that, we're going to start into that ditch work. But he's been trying to get rid of some of those weeds that unfortunately kept growing, even though we didn't run trains last year. So
Just did vegetation, put up some signs that blew down or the horses knocked down, picked up a bunch of trash.
Well, thank you, Ken. Yeah, I
All right,
appreciate it.
Can I?
that's all I've
Yeah,
got.
go.
Can you touch on just the fire safety of the track at its current condition and where we're at and what we've done and what the plan is?
Sure. I guess that's a two-part question. One thing, we have a yearly weed abatement program where we put down a weed abatement chemical. Okay, and that covers pretty much just the roadbed of the track itself. That's basically to get rid of cheatgrass, which is the worst stuff in the world. What Gabe is trying to do is knock down some of the sagebrush that's outside of the ballast section right now and get rid of that. So we're trying to take care of some of that sagebrush. Some of it has to be done by hand. Some of it he can do with his ballast regulator. Can we totally eliminate all fire hazard? I mean, how far are you going to go? The biggest concern is, particularly with the steam engines, if there's some cinders that come off. We have had, back in the day, luckily it was in colder weather conditions, we have had a couple little minor fires. But Tom has always had some fire protection people, volunteer folks from Ken Marty's group that follow along with the train. So hopefully we'll get that squared away again. We're trying to get rid of as much brush as possible. So you'll see where some of it got torn out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Thank you, Gabe. I appreciate that. And I also really want to thank Tom, too, for participating in the rail block discussion. And just for the record, Freedom Rail was on the WebEx as well. So we kind of pulled us all together, and we're trying to work through having this safety plan in place. And I thank Ken for drafting that up and for Tom's input. He had some really excellent suggestions to modify the plan and some things we took out of it that didn't make any sense at the end of the day for the operations to coexist. So thank you both, you guys. Any questions for Ken? Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you again. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to 12D, upcoming meetings. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 26th at 1 p.m. of August. So mark that on your calendars. We'll move on to 13, commissioner comments and announcements and requests for information. So no action will be taken and no discussion among the members or with staff will take place during this item of the agenda. Any commissioner comments at this time? Go ahead, Jim. Yeah, please.
So first, I guess, is what's the holdup with getting the trains running? Where are we, and how long will that take? Because I mean, I'm hearing that they could be running by the time we meet at the next meeting. So for me, I'm just kind of curious as to what's left to get it up. That's the first one.
I appreciate you breaking it down into one question and second question, because apparently I can only do one at a time. So I talked to Tom yesterday, and where we are at is he has submitted an inspection for the 18, and he's getting the 18 on the track next Thursday or Friday. He's very upbeat, very optimistic. Assuming all goes well when he gets it on the track next Thursday or Friday, we're good to go. I think the date's August 20th. That's really what we're waiting on. And at that point, he's also going to relay it back, anything that he sees on the track. Of course, we're doing the inspection tomorrow, so we'll get that report. And then I did ask Tom to let us know if he sees anything specific that needs to be addressed. Please, relay that to our team as well, so that we're ready to go. Did that answer your question?
Question 2, Jim?
So a totally different topic. The Battle Axe event had a deadline of June 30th. When I talked to Stephanie when she came in, they did not meet that, so we do not have an event scheduled anymore. Can you give me an idea of what that's going to look like? And you're kind of shaving a lot of time if you don't have it approved till August 26th.
So I'll take that one. Given, and Stephanie will have to jump in from the city's perspective, I didn't feel comfortable bringing back a new facility use rental agreement today, only because they're in the middle of the MPR project. And what I was worried about was we might approve it and then something happens that extends the deadline that's outside of our control here. So I do realize, bringing it back in August is a pretty tight timeline, but in talking with Stephanie, we think that we'll know before the next commission meeting that the special event permit will be approved or not. And it didn't seem right, because I felt like then we might have to bring it back like a third agreement, and I don't want to say waste everybody's time, but so that was me. I guess, Jim.
So here's my concern with that. That was running on a weekend that the trains would then be running. You can't run the trains and have that event. And so are we going to run the trains or are we going to have an event? We're going to have to make a decision here pretty soon because, you're going to start selling tickets. Are you selling them for that weekend or not? And if you wait for that to issue it until after we do a special use permit, you're not going to get many riders. So then you're just kind of wasting that weekend.
Can I touch on that?
Please.
So currently, the schedule has us not running trains that weekend. It also is the Outhouse weekend up in Virginia City. So part of our PR efforts is to do an effort that's solely based on, ride the train for Virginia City events. So we would know before that PR effort would happen. Part of that is also the camel races as well. So we would loop in that weekend as part of that pitching to fill trains that weekend. Ideally, we'd be on sale for August right now. So when we launch the schedule, to answer your question, that October for, I think it's first and second dates, will not be available. Should we come to the next meeting and we need to open that date up, we'll loop that date into our PR pitching as part of the Virginia City experience, is the plan.
So I guess to Stephanie or to David, when is the deadline for them to get this resolved so that they can have a concert on October 1st?
Stephanie Hicks, I'll take that one. So they did submit initial information to the city, and so the request that is outstanding right now was for questions to be answered, had to do with transportation and parking, some of the things that we talked about. Their deadline for submitting that back in to the city is the end of this week. So, timing-wise, we're close, but until they submit it, we won't know.
Anyone else?
I was just going to kind of respond. I think as well, because we're running a short season, there may be opportunity for, if we do open up that weekend, for an additional PR pop on, hey, I don't know what the pent up demand is, but there may
Heavy.
be a fair amount that we can then capitalize with some special, hey, we got some new dates that just opened up. So I'm not as concerned. I think we can mitigate for ridership if we need to. I'm not as concerned that it'll be a wasted weekend.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay, wonderful. Let's go ahead and move on to, thank you, everybody. Agenda item 14, public comment. Public is invited at this time to comment on any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item of the agenda. Do we have any public comment on the phone?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Seeing no public comment in the room. Action item 15 for possible action to adjourn. We're adjourned.